Hey, what's up guys? TMax here. Welcome back to this mini series that I've been doing about the cultural observations that I've been making over the last 3 years. I've been keeping notes on my phone, finally organized it, making these videos, 12-part series. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll get into today's topic. So today is a fun one. Today we are talking about transportation, and I've included just in general how people move from one place to another. And Bruce Lee has this quote about jujitsu, be water, my friend. But I think that also just comes from the culture in general. People flow, and this you see this anywhere where there's just lots of people. If there's a space or a gap, people are going to fill it. And so even at my job, there's they put these barriers out so that you have to walk around to go through the COVID section. But there's on the side door, there's like a little gap, and like half the people go through that. Let's start with the most popular mode of transportation, which is the metro. First thing I noticed is the metro is super cheap. In the US, I never took the metro ever because I'd never lived in a place where there was a metro. In the suburbs, we just drive. When I lived in Belgium, I used the metro all the time, and it was like €2 or €3 for one trip every time you're going somewhere. And here the metro is like 30 cents. The metro is so cheap, and the metro network here is super well connected. So some things that you'll notice on the metro, before COVID, there used to be a few people who would patrol the trains every now and again. Sometimes they're volunteers, sometimes they're like the bow on, a little bit lower than a security guard, just somebody there to, if something happened, to call or to help in a case of emergency or something. But then after COVID, they started putting a lot more bow on. So coming into the metro in Beijing, there's like 4 or 5 people standing by the metal detectors and the places where you place your bags for scanning. And they have the most unaggressive wand scanning. Sometimes they don't even move the wand. They just every other city that has a metro is more thorough or more aggressive about doing the wanding than Beijing. Every stop has metal detectors. Every stop you have to put your bag through. They don't make you put your groceries on the bag, which is nice because I used to get groceries from a store way away from my house, and they're like, just go through. So if you have food, they usually just let you go. And again, they don't wand you, so. But then when you walk through the metal detectors, everybody's beeping, so it's like, what exactly are we detecting? Because there's metal. Everybody has metal on them. Like, we have our phones on us and everything. So what are the metal detectors for? In Beijing, one thing that I love, almost every metro stop has a toilet, and it's free, and they're clean. I love free toilets. That used to drive me crazy in Germany, having to pay to use the bathroom. And even when I was traveling to Mexico, I'm like, how dare you charge me to pee? In front of all the doors on each train, there's arrows on the side, like, stand to the side and you'll come in and let the people exit. There'll be people lined up, and then somebody will just walk down the middle of these 2 lines and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stand in the middle of this line, and the doors open, people are trying to walk out, and then they're just barging in. And I have seen this at every metro stop, every time I ride the metro. It's always somebody. Maybe they don't know. And nobody's ever told them that what they're doing is wrong, because nobody says anything. There's always these TVs on the metro, and 9 times out of 10 on these TVs there's going to be some sort of news, and there's going to be some sort of how to behave propaganda. And they usually use cartoons, but sometimes they use real people. And this is how you should behave in this situation, and this is where you should park your bikes, and when you're on the metro, line up in the arrows and don't go down the middle. But obviously nobody's watching these because the people are still doing it. And so on the metro, if it's a busy day, you can forget about all kinds of courtesy. When there's an open seat, people fight and rush for that. I mean, occasionally there's, somebody who like, oh, I see an old person, and they'll like try to help them get a seat. But most times it's every man for themselves, and everybody's dying to get a seat and they want to sit down. Priority seating is no longer a thing. All of the audio, speaker, overhead, intercom voices are in Chinese and in English. Really British Chinese, like, please go here, but like with the strong Chinese and strong British accent. So it's just really funny just to listen to the intercom for me in the metro stations. When you exit the train, there's going to be pushing. There's people everywhere, just so many people here. So pushing and bumping into people, there's no like, oh, excuse me, sorry, like in the West where every time you touch somebody you gotta address it. Here it's just bumping, hitting. I mean, if you're not killing somebody, they're probably just going to keep going and not say anything about it. And it's not like a rude thing. It's just part of the culture. And if you are making a transfer from one metro to another line, prepare to walk. I got on the metro because I didn't want to walk 20 kilometers to my house, but you're going to make me walk 3 kilometers to transfer from this station to that station. Okay, a little bit of exaggeration. So there's some long transfers, especially because there are some that are really short. And so, you get off the train, you go up the escalator, and boom, you're at the other one. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. And sometimes you get off the train, you go up the escalator, you walk across the bridge, go down an escalator, walk through a tunnel, take an elevator up, walk across the street, go down another elevator, walk under the bridge, and then walk 8 miles to the next stop, it feels like. And then finally you can get on the train. It's like, wow, did I walk home? And so that's it for the metros. If I missed any, put them in the comments below because I'm sure there's a lot more. Let's move to the street. So you have cars and bikes and buses. And this is where I spend most of my time because I bike to work and I see so many things that I want to share with you. A red light, especially in a neighborhood, just means stop sign. If there's a car and they pull up to a red light and there's nobody else at the light, half of the time they're just gonna run it. They're gonna, nobody's coming, and they're gonna go. In residential areas. Now on the main streets, they usually stop, especially if there's cameras. Same thing with pedestrians. Everywhere you go, pedestrians will walk through a red light because they see the cars aren't coming or whatever. And then, if they get stuck out there in traffic, now they're playing Frogger. Red doesn't mean stop, I guess. And so, does green mean go? Yes, but not the way that you think. Protected left, for example. Like, I might have a protected left, but because that guy just really wants to run his red, he might go. So my protected left is not protected. Say I'm at a stoplight here, and this person is coming at their stoplight here, and it's red. And I see this person's not paying attention, or I'm just really in a rush. When that light turns green, I'm going to speed out and go left. If this person's not paying attention, everybody behind me that wants to turn left too is going to go with me. And now we just made it a train. It's like 5 cars will turn in front of this one. Now they've got to come out slowly and try to break the chain. So now the onus is on the person who has the right of way to try to ease their way through the people who are filling the gap. Like, oh, he went, I'm gonna go too. So the relationship between drivers and pedestrians is not friendly, particularly here in Beijing. If you are a pedestrian and you're in the crosswalk and you have the green, you still need to be paying attention because cars don't care. Especially if they're trying to make that right-hand turn on red. There's no California stop. There's no real stop. It's a green light for them as far as they're concerned. There's just some crosswalks where it's a crosswalk, but there's no light. So you would imagine that pedestrians have the right of way. I don't know the traffic laws here, so maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, in Beijing, you better be running or get out the way because they're not stopping for you. And I know that this is not true everywhere in China because I very distinctly remember in Xi'an, I wasn't even in the road and cars were stopping, waiting for me. And I was like, where am I? What planet am I on? Because Beijing is not like that at all. The worst drivers in China live in Beijing. So honking is one of those things that, and especially in America, this is probably what causes a lot of road rage. Just that somebody making noise at you, you feel kind of attacked or offended. Here in China, especially in Beijing, it's not an attack. It's almost like a declaration, like, hey, I'm behind you. And so depending upon how much of a rush you're in will determine how often or how frequent you let people know that you are there. The problem is people honk so much and all the time, people are desensitized to it. Which means you have to honk even more. Like, half the people don't even do anything, don't react to it because you're just so used to hearing honking. People on bikes, bells, scooter beeping. You hear it so much you don't know if it's for you or not. So if you don't hear it like 5 or 6 times, you don't react to it. But the whole time, if you just look at the drivers, they're always straight-faced. There's never any like, oh, you jerk, what are you doing? Oh, you don't see that. I can count how many times I've seen people stop the car or kind of want to say something, challenge somebody for bad driving. It's so few. People just don't, and they probably lived in America for a while and they picked up this habit. I remember one time I was riding in the bike lane. There was a guy coming, he made a right-hand turn. This guy was a foreigner and he cuts me off and he's like, get out of the way. And that was the only time in all of my time in China that I wanted to beat somebody. I had road rage because of this guy, because of this other foreigner. And I've been cut off. I've actually been hit by the little bung-bung guy, and he didn't stop. He just kept going after he knocked me off my bike, and I was less upset at that guy than I was at this foreigner who yelled at me. It just kind of clicked in my mind. It's like, wow, road rage and all that is just purely, it's mostly verbal. It's what triggers you. Like anywhere, there's going to be people who walk or drive or ride slowly. This person that's going slow doesn't think like, I'm going slow, let me get to the side, or let me move to an area where there's less people. It's always like, I'm going slow in the middle. So in the bike lane, not only do you see bikes, scooters, pedestrians, cars, you also see these like mini electric cars that are, I guess they're like covered scooters, but they have four wheels. They're in this electric vehicle, you don't need a license for it, and it's twice the width of a scooter. And they come down the middle too, so it's like, for scooters and for these vehicles, you don't need licenses. And it is very evident that people don't have licenses, because just the bravery, I'm going to use that word, for what people are doing in the bike lane is phenomenal. You know, you have to not have any care in the world about your life to survive in the bike lane. And that's also evident because nobody wears helmets, except for anybody that's working for a company on a scooter. They have helmets because it's probably part of the uniform, probably part of the policy. But everybody else, no helmets. Kids on scooters, kids on bikes, there's no helmets. There's a lot of bravery in the bike lane. I can understand if a bike is on the sidewalk, okay, yeah. But scooters and motorcycles really shouldn't be on the sidewalk. And they're going full speed on the sidewalk. But I mean, if pedestrians are going to walk super slow in the bike lane, I guess the scooters can go full speed on the sidewalk. When there's a driveway, you know, a place where you can drive up onto the sidewalk, that's cars' favorite spot to park. I had just passed 200 meters of a parkable area. Let me go ahead and stop in the driveway where people actually need to go up and down into the sidewalk, and because this is a good spot to stop. In China, just like in the US, the flow of traffic on the right is going one way and the left is going the other way. I don't know why. Especially like in malls and metro stations. The escalator going up on the right and down on the left on one floor. And the next floor, it'll be the opposite. In the same building. And it's like, you did it right there, and now why are you doing it differently here? A 7-story mall, like the first 3 floors is all on the right, and then all of a sudden, it just flips. You're assuming that you need to walk on this side, but really you need to cross over. And there's just lots of congestion, and people are water, so they just slide through. So one thing you will find here in all major transportation hubs, I'm talking airports, train stations, even nice bus stations, and even on the train, is hot water. Free hot water. There's always free hot water, no matter where you go. It is a life necessity here to have free hot water, which is great. Even on the plane, you can give flight attendant your travel container and say, hey, can you get me hot water? And they will fill it up and bring it to you. And when you are on a plane, you know, we all land. There's always that one guy who just really needs to get off the plane, and he's sitting in the back and he rushes forward or whatever. But here, it's like half of the back of the plane wants to rush. You see people sprinting to try to get in front of the line before other people stand up to get their stuff. And then later you see them in the airport and they're not in a rush at all. It's like, why were you in such a rush? I see a lot of that here. People rushing to go wait somewhere. You see people running for an escalator and then stop and stand on the escalator. If you're in that much of a rush, like walk up the escalator, like go. But like, no, I just really wanted to be here. For all of you expats who are living here in China, what do you see when you're traveling, when you're going on your daily commute to work? Leave comments below. If you're new here, like, share, subscribe, comment as well, and we'll see you in the next video. When I went to Japan, I had already lived in China for well over a year, so I had got used to this habit of, you know, oh, there's nobody coming, even though the stoplight's red for pedestrians, we still go. So I got used to going, and then in Japan, it was like a 1-lane street. It was such a small street. And like me and my buddy were walking up to it, and I see it's about to turn red, and there's like a few people in front of us. They stopped. And there's no cars there. They stopped and they waited that thing out. And I'd like, again, you know, when in Rome, so I didn't, and they were Japanese, so I'm like, I'm not gonna, maybe they know something I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be like a train or something that just comes out of nowhere. So I stopped behind them, and then when the light changed and they kept walking, I was like, I can't believe that was like, even in America, we would have crossed that one. And Japan, they didn't. And in China, they do. Always. Always. 72% of the time. But always.